Hello, and welcome back to more Films That Are Constant Critique, where we take a look at films, some good, some bad, and some downright awful. I'm Bongo Baikov, and joined by our host, Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week, we are taking a look at the film Mars Attacks.
Ack. Or you could insert that soundboard in there if you want. Could you?
I was just about to say, maybe I should have just read the intro as just a series of acts like the aliens.
Shut up. It was released on December 13th, 1996. It cost about $90 million. Wow, that's really expensive for this movie.
That is very expensive.
It made $101.4 million. So it was a pretty big box office flop then, in that case.
Yeah.
Although I think it's safe to say this has a cult following now, so...
Yes. Which we'll definitely talk more about.
Excuse me. This was based on some Topps trading cards from the 1960s. Did you know about that?
I learned about that today when I was just, scrolling through the Wikipedia page. But I did not know about that before.
It's very loosely based. All they really did was they took the alien design and, a few other visual things, and that's about it. The trading cards do have a story to them, but the writer didn't realize that until they were finished writing the script. Because they didn't bother looking at the backs of the cards.
So they just left out everything from them. Nice.
And I did look up pictures of the cards, and they look pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. You got that really they just look like vintage just B movies from the 50s.
Yeah.
They were also considering adapting the Dinosaurs Attack trading cards.
Were they done by the same people?
I think so, yeah. I don't know much about Dinosaur Attacks, but... Oh my god, that's really violent, actually. These are, really bloody.
Hold on a minute.
Sheesh.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Oh, wow, yeah.
They're, really gory.
Huh.
So, this movie was directed by Tim Burton, which...
Been a hot minute since we've done one of his movies.
Yeah, because he did Batman and Batman Returns, which was our very first episode.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been. This is right after he did the Ed Wood biopic. So he decided to do this movie basically as a tribute to Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. As well as other 50s, B movies. Earth vs. the Flying Saucers is another one that you can tell was an influence. The cast. This is
It's insane. I thought when we did Planet Terror that was gonna be the most stacked cast we were ever gonna have.
Or Quantum Quest.
And then this movie came along.
Quantum Quest was pretty stacked. So Jack Nicholson is in this, and we haven't had him since Batman, where he played the Joker.
Oh wow.
And that was another Tim Burton movie. Glenn Close. She was in Fatal Attraction. One of the scariest performances of all time. It kind of makes sense that she would be married to Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson
100%
plays
plays the president in this, and Glenn Close plays the First Lady. Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
And he was playing Bond at the time, too, when he was in this.
That makes so much sense. I like kind of wondered, but yeah, no, you can tell.
And I believe that makes him the second James Bond we've had on the podcast. Because we had Sean Connery in a couple of movies. Danny DeVito.
For like 5 seconds.
Yeah, which, having Danny DeVito in this, that means we have 2 Batman villains in this.
Yep.
And both of them were in Tim Burton Batman movies. Martin Short, who I always forget he was in this movie, honestly. He was in Three Amigos, Inner Space, among other things.
He was in The Prince of Egypt.
I forgot about that. I forgot he was in that. And Steve Martin was as well. Sarah, what a name. Sarah Jessica Parker, who was also in Ed Wood, so another Tim Burton movie. And Sex in the City, among other things. And I'm not done. There's more.
There are so many people we haven't mentioned yet.
Michael J. Fox, who, Marty McFly.
Back to the Future.
Marty McFly from Back to the Future. He was also in Family Ties. Rod Steiger, that's a name I'm shocked is in this. Like, what? Academy Award winner Rod Steiger is in this movie. He was in the Heat of the Night.
He played Napoleon in a movie, I'm pretty sure, right?
Right, Waterloo, yep. He was in Dr. Zhivago. Bunch of other movies I could probably list. Tom Jones. Before you ask, yes, that Tom Jones.
That Tom Jones.
I mean, hey, it's not unusual for him to be in this.
You're not allowed to make the joke. They already made that joke twice and 3 times in the movie.
Oh boy.
Maybe that should be the outro for this one instead of Andy Griffith. It's not unusual place.
Copyright. I'm worried about copyright.
Yeah.
Otherwise I would consider it. Natalie Portman is in this. This would have been after Leon the Professional, but before the Star Wars prequels.
Phantom, yeah.
But that's how we've had her on the podcast, is Star Wars. So we did all the Star Wars movies. Jim Brown, who we literally just had in our previous podcast.
On The Running Man.
He played Fireball in The Running Man. He was a football player before he was an actor. Another one I forgot she was in this. Pam Grier. Pam Grier is in this movie.
That's right. I even forgot she was in it. There's so many people in this.
And we had her before because she was in Escape from L.A.
Hmm.
She's also in Jackie Brown, one of your favorite Tarantino movies.
Yeah. It's right up there with Death Proof.
Oh, yeah. All the classics. Joe Don Baker. Mitchell himself is in this. He's another actor that was in James Bond movies, because he's in The Living Daylights and Goldeneye. And Tomorrow Never Dies. I forgot. I always forget that he's in this. Jack Black.
See, he's like the one guy I always remember, but we'll get to that.
Do I need to explain who Jack Black is?
This would be the second time we've had him on the podcast.
Wait, what did we have him in?
The Super Mario Bros. Movie. He was Bowser.
All right, that's right. He was. That's true. I completely forgot about that. Oh my god. And he was a great Bowser as well, too. Wow.
Exactly.
I thought for some reason I forgot about that. I thought this was the first time we had him on the podcast. Anyway. He doesn't sing in this one, though. But anyway.
Sadly.
Oh, another actor who was in Mario-related stuff, Frank Welker.
Yep. That's the voice of the Martians.
He does the voice of the Martians. And he basically does voiceovers and everything. Like, if there's an animated movie, there's a very strong chance he did a voice in it.
Yeah.
He's been on the podcast several times. He voiced Yoshi and the Goombas in the live-action Mario movie, for example.
I should also point out real quick about Frank Welker. This was not the only time he voiced aliens in 1996.
Oh, well,
Because he was
Independence Day?
also in Independence Day.
Is he all okay? Yeah, huh? That's so straight. Yeah, and we'll probably talk about this later, but those two movies are very, very similar in quite a few ways.
Yes.
This was also the last movie of Sylvia Sidney, which you might know her from Beetlejuice.
Yep.
She was the old woman at the desk that kept giving Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin advice, for the afterlife.
Yeah.
She was also in Damien Omen 2. And this. She was in this. Imagine this being your last movie. You know what?
You know what? It's a good send-off. It's a very good send-off.
The music was done by Danny Elfman.
With support from Tom Jones on the soundtrack.
Yeah, Tom Jones on the soundtrack. Where there's a Tim Burton, there's a Danny Elfman. And I'm not even gonna list all of his credit, because,
We've had him a lot of times already.
I know, yeah. Batman, among other things. I do like the posters for this movie.
Oh, they're so good.
The design of the aliens, also the logo. The logo looks nice. They really show off the huge cast on these posters, because,
yes.
Look at that cast. It's ridiculous. And the tagline, the tagline's funny, too. It's a nice planet, we'll take it.
That's pretty good.
Or they could just wrote, ack. They could just said that. Okay. Initial thoughts. I think I'll let you go first, because this was your idea. Who else would suggest this movie?
Okay, so full disclosure, I have seen this movie before. It has to have been well over a decade ago. I would have been a kid the last time I watched this movie. And so I went into this only remembering, two parts of the movie. I remembered that Jack Black gets vaporized, and I remember the scene where this Martian woman bites off one of the characters' fingers. That is all I remembered from this movie. So I basically went in blind. At the start of the movie, I was like, okay, this isn't as, over the top as I was maybe thinking it was gonna be, because it was all still sort of subdued, sort of calm. By the end of the movie, I was laughing my ass off. I had no idea what was going on. It was so just insane. Things were just happening, and it was so funny. It's not what I would call a particularly good movie, but it's just a really funny, just a really fun time, especially when you don't really know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
It does get a little distracting with just how many people show up in the movie. Uh, but it still manages just carry this like insane psychotic energy all the way through. Plus, by the time that Tom Jones actually shows up in the movie, you forgot he's in the movie, so it's a bit of like a jump scare.
Hey, it ain't unusual.
Usual.
Oh boy.
And I can say that now that I've watched this again as an adult, I think this one's gonna be stuck in my brain for a while.
I was surprised you didn't remember more of it because
I barely remembered anything from this movie.
yeah, and I'll tell you why. This is another one of those weird movies. I remember you telling me everything about it, like literally everything. And I was like, that sounds bizarre, but I kind of want to watch it. You know, like the live action Mario movie or Army of Darkness. It would have been around the same time you told me about those movies, so that would have been like well over like 10 years ago, more than that probably.
Yeah.
Like I literally remember you recapping almost the whole movie, and I thought this movie sounds insane. Like what? But for whatever reason, it took forever for me to actually get around to watching it. I didn't see it until I was in college.
Oh wow.
Although I had seen the trailer for it and like a few clips of it and stuff, so I had kind of an idea of what it was, and so I bought the DVD of it, watched it in college with like a roommate, and that would have been like 6 years ago. So watching it for the podcast, this is my second time watching it in full. This is not a very good movie, but it is a fun tribute to 50s B movies. It's got a big cast. There's some good gags here and there. It is a bit all over the place, and not all of it works, but
it is very all over the place.
But it is enjoyable to watch. It is a very fun movie. Mostly because of the Martians. The Martians are so demented and horrible, but so hilarious at the same time. Kind of like the Gremlins in the Gremlins movies, except even darker than that. And I mean, it has Tom Jones in it. You can't hate a movie with Tom Jones.
Tom Jones as like a somewhat main character as himself.
He just plays himself. Yeah, I don't even know what other movies he's in, but I know he did the theme song for Thunderball, but I can't think of any other movies where he actually acted in it. But here's one of them. But yeah, it's not a great movie, but it's fun. I enjoy it. You know, I'm you know. Anyway. What do you want to guess that Leonard Maltin gave it?
Oh, he either absolutely loved this or he absolutely hated it, and I don't know which way I'm leaning for him. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say that he loved it. I'm gonna say he gave it 3.5.
He actually was more in the middle on this one. He gave it 2.5.
Really?
Out of 4. Yeah.
Huh.
Called it an overly self-satisfied spoof of 50s alien invasion movies and 50s attitudes. Great effects and animation of the Martian characters. but awfully broad and one note in tone, spoofing something that's already funny in the straight-faced originals of the period. One can't completely dislike a film in which Slim Whitman figures so prominently, though. Okay. So, do you are you mad at him, or...
I guess I can see where he's coming from, but I disagree, but not like passionately.
Okay. But remember, he thought Batman Forever was better than this.
I'm aware.
Okay. The plot. It's in the title. It's literally in the
Mars
title.
attacks.
Yeah, exactly. This actually might be the most straightforward premise we have ever had on the podcast. It's just aliens invading Earth and they kill a bunch of famous actors.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It only becomes complicated because there's a lot of characters in it. Which is gonna make this gonna be a hard one to talk about. So I don't know if I want to just call this section pros or what, but
yeah, we'll start with the pros.
Jack Nicholson plays the President of the United States.
What like perfect casting, by the way.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like it's up there with Morgan Freeman in terms of like best actors to play a president.
Now, unfortunately, we won't be able to vote for him in this coming election. That being said, if he was running against Bill Pullman from Independence Day...
Ooh.
Sorry, Jack, I'm voting for Bill Pullman. Because he did a better job fighting the aliens in that movie.
That is fair. He actually beat the aliens.
But I mean, it is fun because it's Jack Nicholson as the president. Yeah.
But not only that, Jack Nicholson also plays a completely separate character who's a casino owner.
Yes, that was weird. Okay. He's this casino owner who wears a really bad wig and a tacky cowboy outfit. And his performance there was reminding me of that part in Beetlejuice where there's that commercial where Beetlejuice is wearing a cowboy costume.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then later when I was like looking up like stuff about like the production, I found out Michael Keaton was supposed to play this role originally.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And that probably would have been better, because it's just weird seeing Jack Nicholson. For no reason, he's just playing this other character.
Yeah, there's no reason for it. Jack Nicholson has two characters. They never interact. They never meet each other. They have no involvement with each other's storylines. He just plays two completely separate characters.
I guess it's just supposed to be like a Doctor Strangelove reference, where like...
That would have been my guess, because there's a couple parts that feel like it could have been referencing Strangelove.
Because in that, Peter Sellers like played multiple roles, so maybe it's supposed to be like that. It doesn't really work as well here, though, obviously.
No.
But it's just kind of funny that that's... My notes on this are all over the place, I should point out.
It's a hard movie to take notes on, to be fair.
One of the first things we see in this movie is some cattle that are like on fire. Which I gotta say, that's a very memorable image, and I sometimes forget it's from this movie.
Dude, it's insane. Because, again, this is one of those things that I completely forgot about. Just seeing this herd of flaming cattle at the beginning running down, it's such a cool visual. And it's this weird, like, one one-use gag that just gets tossed away and never mentioned again.
I sometimes, like, again, I for whatever reason, I always forget it's from this movie in particular. Because it just feels like it could have been from, like, another movie from that time. Like, Independence Day. That could have been an Independence Day.
Yeah.
Which came out the same year. I was thinking about Independence Day quite a lot while watching this movie. This almost feels like they just decided to do a parody of that movie or something.
It kind of does. They have this, like, recurring gag throughout the movie where they constantly try and make peace with the Martians, and every time the Martians play along until the very end when they just kill everybody in the room.
Yeah, the Martians in this are, like, so bloodthirsty. Like, it's, like, crazy how many people they kill in this movie.
It's insane. They kill the entire U.S. Congress at one point.
Oh, yeah, that part's funny. Where they like, get up to... They're gonna... One of the Martians is, like, pretending to, like... kill... He's, like, gonna pretend to give a speech, but then he just shoots everyone with a ray gun.
They all, like, vaporize, get turned into skeletons.
And then in the nursing home... The grandmother's, like, laughing and saying,
Yeah.
They blew up Congress.
They blew up Congress!
That's so funny.
If you look in, like, the crowd of skeletons after they destroy Congress, you can see there's a skeleton that's face palming as all of it's going on.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing. Like, whenever they kill people in this, like, they just turn into, like, skeletons. When they, like, shoot them with lasers. It kind of reminds me of the first Spider-Man movie.
I was about to mention that. Do you think that was, like, a reference to Mars Attacks?
Like Green Goblin, because Green Goblin's like pumpkin bombs. They kind of do a similar thing.
Yeah.
And the effect looks pretty similar, too. I don't know if Sam Raimi is good friends with Tim Burton, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And since we're talking about the aliens a bit...
Let's just talk about the Martians. I kind of just want to talk about the Martians.
Oh, their design is so good.
It is, yeah, and it is based on the trading cards. That's what they look like in the trading cards. And it's a very memorable design. They look like these skeletons with, like, huge exposed brains. They're really freaky looking, but also it's just kind of... It's so exaggerated, though, that it's kind of comical as well.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, like, as an adult, it's funny, but, like, as a kid, it's kind of creepy when you're a kid seeing those aliens. And, like, if you go on any videos on YouTube about this movie, everyone says the same thing. Like, this is the funniest movie I've seen, but those Martians are so disturbing.
Or, like, they had nightmares about these Martians as a kid. I wouldn't be surprised, yeah, because they are pretty creepy looking.
Their voices, too, so...
Yeah, the voices, oh my god, yeah, it's perfect. It's fucking perfect.
It's so good. So it's Frank Welker just screaming the word "ack" into the mic, so everything is "ack, ack, 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 ack." And it sounds like he's peaking the mic every single time. It is so loud.
It kind of reminds me of... do you remember The Great Dictator? Whenever Charlie Chaplin's, like, doing the Hitler parody, and he's like...
Okay, I had a similar idea watching it. Like, sometimes it just sounds like Hitler.
He whenever Charlie Chaplin is, like, doing Hitler speeches in that movie, it's always just, like, nonsense words. Like, he'll, like, throw in, like, sauerkraut or, like, something like that. That's kind of what the Martians sound like in this.
That is.
And just they're horrible, like, to, like, everybody.
They're just pure evil.
They're not given any motivation either, which
kind of makes it even funnier.
Kind of like Michael Myers. They just don't have any reason to kill people. They just kill people. And they're just their voices and expressions and stuff. They're just so... they're so creepy but so funny at the same time, and like
I think it also helps with their design because it was done by Industrial Light and Magic, but like they don't look realistic in the slightest. They look like cartoon characters that have been dropped in, but it works so well for this movie.
it was done on like purpose. They like purposely wanted the effects to look really fake in this to like so it would have more of a B movie feel. I do kind of wish though that they had. Well, I'll get into that in cons later. Never mind. And just whatever, like, there's a lot of really memorable death scenes in this. Like, I know the one you were mentioning earlier, when Jack Black gets vaporized.
So Jack Black's character, well, we'll mention him real quick. He's he grew up in like a trailer park. He's like an absolute idiot that just joins the army.
Yes.
Tries to storm one of the aliens. The gun like jams or isn't loaded. So then he takes the U.S. flag, points it at the alien, and goes, "I surrender," and gets shot and vaporized instantly, and he's just out of the movie.
Was he, like, out of ammo, or did he just...
It sounded like he had he either had no ammo or the gun jammed on him.
Something, yeah. But I like how before he aims his gun at them, he yells, "Die, you alien shit." That's like the only line I remember from Jack Black in this movie. I don't even know if he doesn't have that many lines in this, but yeah, I thought that was funny. Or poor Michael J. Fox, like when he gets vaporized, like he's like holding Sarah Jessica Parker's hand, so like the rest of his body like melted. And then you just
see her try to pull his hand closer, and it's just the hand. The rest of his body's just been vaporized.
I know, yeah. It's so just... This movie just has this really weird, dark sense of humor that sometimes is very, very funny.
And it ramps up as the movie goes on.
Because another thing is like when they're going to meet the Martians, somebody like the U.S. Army like goes to meet the Martians, and like everybody's like watching. There's like this hippie that like releases a dove because they think that the Martians came in peace, and then but the Martians apparently they don't like doves. They like shoot it with a laser.
And then proceed to kill everyone there.
And then later, like, even after all that bullshit, like, Pierce Brosnan, he thinks they shouldn't act too rashly. Even though the Martians just wiped out, like, so many people. Natalie Portman got a good line here, like, where she says, "Maybe to them, doves mean war," which I threw my head back with laughter. That was a good line there. But like the president's like saying, "Oh, maybe it's just a cultural misunderstanding or something." I'm like, "Oh, great, this is great."
And so they try again, which is when the aliens then get invited into Congress.
They blow up Congress. Yeah, that's.
And then later, like I feel like it's almost like another hour into the movie or so. President Jack Nicholson gets a call from the president of France, who goes, "Hey, we're about to reach a peace settlement with the aliens," and cuts back to the aliens killing all of like the French governor.
Yeah, of course they did. They also have a funeral for Jack Black's character. They like show his picture there. Jesus. It makes you wonder though, is this how the Area 51 raid went?
Is that why we didn't hear about it? Because the Martians killed everyone?
I was confused though, because like Natalie Portman, she plays Jack Nicholson and Glenn Close's daughter in this.
Yeah.
I'm like, that can't be right. if Jack Nicholson and Glenn Close had a daughter, she'd be played by Christina Ricci, not Natalie Portman. But anyway, sorry.
I also like that at the end of the movie, she pretty much becomes acting president because everyone else in the government had died.
Everybody's dead, yeah. So they just had this teenage girl. Maybe that's how she got power in the Phantom Menace, even though she was like really young in that.
Turns out Mars Attacks was a prequel to the prequels.
Maybe.
Both the Jack Nicholson's death scenes are pretty good.
Both
but
of
the one
them.
is the president.
That's another thing. Because Jack Nicholson plays two characters in this, so he dies twice.
And the one when he's the president is really funny.
That's the one where he's like trying to, even after all this, he's still trying to like get the Martians to
like agree to like a peace deal. But the funny thing is, he's not doing it like he's like saying stuff like, "Oh, I believe that our two races could coexist, and we could help each other." But he's saying it all in the context of they help the Martians conquer other worlds. Which is really dark, but pretty funny for the US president to just go, yeah, sure, we'll help you hunt down other alien planets if you want us to.
And then he, like, ends it by saying, why can't we all just get along? It's a pretty well-delivered speech, too, yo.
It is.
It kind of reminded me of, like, when Jack Nicholson was in A Few Good Men, you know? Like, it didn't really remind me of... It didn't really remind me of Jack Nicholson's performance in stuff like, say, The Shining or One for the Cuckoo's Nest. It reminded me more of, like, A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson, at least when he's playing the president. When he's playing, the casino owner, he just feels like Michael Keaton.
He really does.
But yeah, so he tries, like, persuading them with this speech, and then they just kill him anyway, after...
Well, they kill him and they plant a Martian flag into his chest.
They, like, shake his hand and then just kill him anyway. It's like, what? And that was also the point I was thinking, like, wait, so Jack Nicholson plays the president and he gets killed, so who's the vice president then?
I don't think we ever saw who the vice president was.
I guess they got killed off screen somewhere.
Probably got killed in Congress.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, he has... Jack Nicholson as the president has a lot of really good lines.
Yeah, there was one that this might have been the biggest laugh I got in this whole thing. It was after they destroyed Congress.
I know exactly what line you're about to say.
He said, I want the people to know there are still 2 of the 3 branches of the government working for them, and that ain't bad.
It's such a good line.
Oh my god, that killed me.
And his death as the casino owner is also pretty good. So he's been trying to pitch like this galaxy-themed casino.
Another thing we should point out.
The whole movie. Oh, yeah?
Another thing we should point out is a lot of this movie takes place in Vegas.
Yes.
So you see a lot of, like, casinos and stuff. So, like, he's a casino owner. He's trying to pitch, like, some land properties to, this business meeting. Like, he's saying, like, the Martians, they're gonna want some properties there. Or something like that. And while this is going on, there's just Martians, like...
in the background of the shot, flying around, destroying Las Vegas.
You just see flying saucers destroying stuff in the background, and then eventually they just start attacking him. He gets crushed by a globe.
And I will say, when they destroy the tower that he's in, that actually looked like really good. Like the tower like collapsing in on itself.
There are occasionally like some good effects, like, you know, destruction and stuff. But yeah. Oh, and Glenn Close gets killed by the Nancy Reagan chandelier. It just falls on her. Because, okay, another scene. This
That
was
got
ridiculous.
such a big laugh out of me.
This scene was ridiculous. So, for some reason, there's this school touring the White House while it's being attacked by Martians. Like, how stupid are these people?
Well, the funny thing is, when they're trying to escape, like, one of the security people says, no, you can't go that way, there's still a tour in progress.
I know, it's so funny. And that would also make this the second movie in 1996 where aliens attacked the White House.
Yeah.
It doesn't get destroyed in this one, though. It almost does, but...
But yeah, so Glenn Close is trying to escape with everyone else, and she gets, like, caught a little farther behind.
And
and an alien ends up shooting this chandelier above her, and she looks at it and she goes, no, not the Nancy Reagan chandelier. And it falls on her, and the visual is so funny. Like, whatever dummy they used, it just completely, like, crumpled underneath the weight of the chandelier. It was so funny.
Another part I liked was the Martians just going around, just destroying. They just go around destroying every national monument they could find.
Dude, that collage, like, started to, like, kill me, because it's just quick cuts, like, maybe 10 seconds each of them destroying a bunch of different monuments.
The funniest one was when they used the Easter Island heads for bowling.
Bowling pits. Well, my favorite was, like, a couple shots after that, all of a sudden it's showing Godzilla destroying a city.
Oh, right, yeah.
I lost it then. I was like, are you serious? And then it turns out they're just watching TV, but it actually, the fake out got me. I thought Godzilla was really there for a second.
I had forgotten about that. Because at that point, yeah, this movie would not have been that... It wouldn't have been that ridiculous for Godzilla to actually show up. But no, it was footage from an actual Godzilla movie. I'm gonna see if I can find... I feel like it was one of the 80s ones. It might have been the... It might have been... Was it Godzilla 1984? Give me a second. I'm gonna look this up real quick. Godzilla vs. Biollante. Okay, so it was one of the 80s ones. Okay. Yep. I remember that one. And that was another thing, is like they would occasionally cut to the Martian ships and they'd just be doing weird experiments, or they'd just be watching TV.
Yeah, they're watching TV, or they're like poking around at like people's body parts, or like looking at just stuff they picked up off the ground after killing a bunch of humans.
Yeah, because one thing they did is they switched Sarah Jessica Parker's head around with her chihuahua, so you get one of the weirdest visuals of all time.
It's so weird. It's so uncanny and uncomfortable.
If you ever wanted to see Sarah Jessica Parker's head on a chihuahua's body, you get that in this movie. If you ever want to see a chihuahua's head,
on Sarah Jessica Parker's body,
you get that in this movie. And Pierce Brosnan is there as well. They just have his head like...
We haven't even mentioned Pierce Brosnan, really.
We did earlier.
So he's like this... A little bit, but not... We haven't really talked about him. So he's supposed to be this professor that's there to help them, like, understand the Martians. But first of all, he just acts like he's James Bond the whole time, pretty much. And second of all, he's wrong about basically everything he says about the Martians.
Because he's basically just saying, like, oh, because they're, like, an advanced civilization, that means they're not barbaric, which I'm like, what? Where'd you get that from, Mr. Professor? And, like... Or when they, like, just wipe out a bunch of people, he's saying, maybe this is just a cultural misunderstanding, you know, just stuff like that. It's just... it makes you think, what is he a professor of? But then also he has this subplot with Sarah Jessica Parker. She's dating
where he has the romance of her head on the Chihuahua's body.
But like, okay, but before that, Sarah Jessica Parker, she's like dating Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Or are they married? I think they were just dating.
I think they're just dating.
But then Pierce Brosnan shows up, so she basically leaves Marty McFly for James Bond in this movie.
It's after watching Michael J. Fox die in front of her eyes as well.
I know, yeah, because she just saw his hand, like, so maybe she was just using it as an excuse to get away from him. I don't know. But like they're but then they're on this UFO, and her head is on the dog body. His head is like Pierce Brosnan's head is like hooked up to this machine or something, and then eventually both the heads just fall off and they end up kissing, which it was such a weird.
It's so weird.
Image. I know.
We haven't even talked about Jim Brown's storyline. He is a retired boxer that works at a casino in Las Vegas.
Wait, was that Jim Brown or was that? Wait a second.
Yeah, because he was the retired boxer.
I thought Jim Brown was the general, or one of the. Or no, yeah, you're right. He played Byron Williams. That's right. Sorry, who was?
Yeah. I think the other guy was Paul Winfield.
Paul Winfield. Okay, that was Paul Winfield. Sorry, I got him confused. Paul Winfield's the guy that plays the. Okay, right. So he gets killed by a Terminator, and he gets killed by Martians.
Rather unfortunate.
But yeah, you want to talk about Byron Williams? Yeah, that scene where he just so the whole movie he's just trying to get back to his kids, basically,
who live over in Washington D.C.
And he's a boxer. Retired boxer, right?
Yeah.
He has this bare-knuckle fight with the Martians towards the end of the movie.
Where he's just cracking open their, like, glass helmets.
I lost it during that scene. Like, just...
And they keep trying to fight. Nobody tries to vaporize him. They all try and fight him like hand to hand for some reason.
He's just punching out Martians with his bare hand. That was, oh my god!
And along his journey to try and get back to Washington D.C., he also meets Danny DeVito, who's like this scumbag lawyer, and Tom Jones.
Yes. Oh my god. Okay. One of my favorite scenes was Danny DeVito meeting Tom Jones. That cracked me up. Because he, like, recognized him immediately. He's like, hey, you're Tom Jones. It ain't unusual.
Tom Jones. It's not unusual.
And it's the actual Tom Jones, too.
Yeah. It's Tom Jones playing himself.
Did they just, like... Was Tim Burton just friends with... Did Tim Burton just meet Tom Jones at a concert and he was just like, hey, you want to be in my movie? Like, they didn't even write anything. He's just like, hey, let's just put Tom Jones in the movie. Why not? Because he when he's introduced, he's performing It's Not Unusual. I was also playing the movie. I'm like, oh, right, Tom Jones is in this movie. But then some Martians, they show up and ruin his performance. They vaporize some of the audiences. That's actually one of the first scenes I remember seeing from this movie. Like, before I ever watched it, I had seen this part. Danny DeVito shows up. But yeah, it's just this crazy movie about Martians. And oh yeah, Tom Jones is in this. Okay. Why not?
And at the end of the movie, he escapes to some island with two of the women from Vegas. And it's kind of implied that they just live there the rest of their lives.
He actually survives the movie, which I was happy about.
I was fully expecting Tom Jones to get vaporized in the casino.
I know. And like the ending of the movie, like he's just on this island with like a bunch of animals. There's like a tortoise, there's like a deer, a squirrel.
There's a bunch of deer that start coming up to him, yeah.
It feels like a Disney movie or something. A falcon lands on his shoulder. The movie ends just while It's Not Unusual is playing. I love that. That's great.
This movie is cracked.
And we haven't even... There's so many other things I want to mention.
So there's one recurring joke that I like. So the one general that's played by Rod Steiger.
Rod Steiger, yeah.
Every time he tries to give advice to the president, he's like, we need to launch nukes at him right now. They have 15,000 warships positioned around the planet. And at every single point in the movie, he gets ignored and brushed off. Even at the point where it's very clear the Martians are just there to kill everyone, Jack Nicholson refuses to let him use nuclear weapons.
Oh, yeah, I remember this part. They finally use the nukes, but then they don't even work, because the Martians...
No, they don't work. They just get absorbed by, like, a vacuum cleaner thing.
Yeah, that was so strange. Where do I... It like oh yeah, and they like breathe it in, like the Martians breathe it in.
Yeah, it's like helium.
It was mentioned earlier that the Martians run on nitrogen, like that's their they don't use oxygen.
That's
they
right.
use nitrogen.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty good gag there. And then they just go like just wrecking everything. They just destroy and kill like almost everything, and they're such vicious bastards in this. It's so funny.
We still haven't mentioned how they defeat the Martians in the end.
I'm saving that because there's quite a lot of stuff I want to mention. Towards the beginning of the movie, I just went, "Wait a fucking minute, is that Pam Grier?" Because like I completely forgot Pam Grier was in this movie, so that was a huge surprise. They play the Pina Colada song in this. Oh,
that's right.
When Jack Nicholson's other character is introduced. We see the two towers in this, and I wrote in my notes, don't tell me the aliens destroy it. And
yeah, no, I wrote down, oh no, I see the Twin Towers.
I don't think they destroy them in this movie.
I don't remember them getting destroyed, no.
Anyway, they seem to just mostly just be destroying Las Vegas and like other spots. A lot of this movie just felt like every other scene I was like, oh my god, so-and-so was in this. You know, Danny DeVito showed up, Pierce Brosnan, you know. It is actually insane, like, the number of, like, huge names that got to be in this. You know, it's crazy. There's that part where Pierce Brosnan is on Sarah Jessica Parker's show, and they're, like, flirting. And the set design during the chairs.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on with that set. It felt like they wanted to make it, like, 50s futuristic.
And, like, the set design, why were the colors like that? It was so strange. And yeah, Rod Steiger's, like, the only one that's just immediately suspicious of the Martians, because, you know, he's supposed to be, like, the gung-ho general character. Obviously, it wouldn't be a very long movie if the Martians weren't evil, so... You know.
True. His death scene was also pretty good. He's trying to kill, like, the Martian ambassador. He's got two guns, but they just get the bullets are deflected, and so the Martians pull out a shrink ray, which they never use again, by the way, just to shrink him down so they can step on him to kill him.
And, like, the whole time he's, like, giving this, like, speech. Like, he quotes Churchill.
Oh, yeah,
and,
he's
like,
quoting Winston Churchill. He's like, we'll fight you on the beaches. And
one thing I'll give them is, like, the actors seem to be playing it pretty straight.
yes.
Like, most of them. With the exception of, like, Martin Short, because he's Martin Short. You know, he's a goofy dude.
His character was just kind of goofier, like, anyway, I feel.
It really did feel like one of those old disaster movies of, like, just a huge cast. Like, I even read a bit about the production. Apparently Towering Inferno was an inspiration on this, which makes a lot of sense. Since we mentioned him, do you want to talk about Martin Short a bit?
Yeah, no,
There's a
because
very
that's like
weird,
one of the
very weird scene with him.
So earlier on in the movie, they have him pick up like a sex worker off the side of the street. And then later, the Martians send down this woman, played by what's her name again?
Lisa Marie, I think.
Yeah, played by Lisa Marie. To try and sneak into the White House, and so he assumes she's a sex worker and just brings her back to the White House.
Very strange looking woman with like a weird dress and like a weird hairdo.
Yeah.
Like she was like out of like the 50s or 60s. And Martin Short, he like works at the White House. I don't know what his
I think he's the press secretary.
something, yeah. And because like the Martian like disguises this woman to like get access to the White House. And then he Martin Short tries to have sex with her, and she bites his finger off.
Finger, and that was like that's one of the things that I remembered as a kid because that scene kind of scarred me.
It is kind of disturbing, yeah. But like the finger ends up in a fish tank, and like the fish are eating it. So that feels like a Naked Gun gag, actually.
It kind of does.
I think there is a joke. It's not quite like that, but there's a part in the first Naked Gun movie where like Leslie Nielsen, I think he like drops a pen in a fish tank with these like Japanese fighting fish, so he's like trying to get it out of there, and they're attacking him. It kind of reminds me of that. But yeah, that was a strange scene to just throw in there. And then she tries to kidnap Jack Nicholson, but the Secret Service just immediately kills the Martian. Yeah, because she like takes off the disguise, so they, the ruse, like they figured out the ruse. And speaking of the Martians, they look weird without their spacesuits on.
They do. They're all wearing like red Speedos. They're all like super thin, almost skeletal looking.
They look like dolls or something.
Yeah.
It's strange. They're just like, hanging out on the spaceship, watching TV, and like reading Playboy and stuff. Okay. Oh my god. I'm seeing what I missed. Michael J. Fox. He's a reporter for GNN. I feel like we've had other movies of GNN on the podcast, but I don't remember which ones.
That wouldn't surprise me.
But hey, in the words of the late James Earl Jones, this is GNN. Or I think GCN was in the Max Headroom movie. If I remember right.
That sounds right. Max Headroom News Agency?
GNN. What the hell does GNN stand for then?
I'm guessing it's like Global News Network or something.
Something, yeah. But obviously it's referencing, so...
Yeah.
I like the look of the UFOs in this.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting design because they look like the flying saucers, but then they have the actual disc part spinning while like the dome stays stationary, so that just kind of looks cool.
And you can tell that there were a reference to Earth versus the Flying Saucers. It's a 50s movie. Yeah, although the special effects are not as good as Independence Day, so, you know. But then again, that's kind of on purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought the music was good, you know.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, it's a Danny Elfman score, so
You know, and he did a good job making it sound like a 50s, you know.
Yes.
Like a 50s, like, sci-fi B movie. It fits the movie. Blow up Congress. There's a war room in this, which that's gotta be a Doctor Strange.
That's
what
100%. The war room is a Strange Love reference.
And like Rod Steiger, he wants to nuke everything. Jesus, it is like Doctor Strange Love.
Yeah.
There's also some great overacting in that scene from him and Jack Nicholson.
He's got some great. That general has some great lines in there.
He's like saying "kill, kill, kill," and then Jack Nicholson yells,
"We have to strike now. We have to kill, kill, kill."
Like Jack Nicholson yells "shut up" over and over. And we even get a signature Jack Nicholson laugh during that part, so that's nice. The weird dog head. I also just kind of forgot at some point during the movie that this is a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just so different from what he usually makes. It seems like usually what he makes, it's like really like gothic stuff. You know, there's like just like the weird like architecture that you can clearly tell is based on Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah.
Like that. Even the Batman movies he did looked like that. So and then here he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make like a Ed Wood tribute after the other Ed Wood tribute that I did." So.
He was just really in an Ed Wood mood for a few years.
But I guess after this one bombed, he decided not to do anymore. What did he do right after this? Was it Sleepy Hollow? That was what he did after this. That's right. Which that feels more like typical Tim Burton than this does. And with that one also kind of seems to be paying tribute to like 50s movie, but a different genre. It's more like Hammer movies. You know, he's paying tribute to in that one. There was this one weird part where we cut to Christina Applegate in a trailer having sex with a dude while Staying Alive plays. And the Martians are watching them.
Just like, yeah, they're like sitting outside the window, they're watching. Their helmets start to steam up, so they pull out like car windshield wipers to clean off their helmets. It's such a strange gag.
There were several scenes like that. They were kind of just out of nowhere, and they were really just thrown in because, I mean, hey, this will get a laugh, maybe. Because Tim Burton, he has a weird sense of humor. Danny DeVito tries surrendering to the lawyers. I'm sorry. He tries surrendering to the Martians.
He's like, "Hey, for taking over the world, they're gonna need a good lawyer."
Yeah, exactly. And they just kill him because, you know.
Yeah, they just vaporize him, like everyone else in this movie.
Yeah, Rod Steiger gets killed. They kill so many people in this movie. Like, how much of the main cast gets wiped out? Like, I think everybody
most of the main cast is killed.
Everybody that gets top billing gets killed.
Yeah.
Think. Because Jack Nicholson gets killed. Glenn Close gets killed. I don't remember. I think Annette Bening gets killed off.
I'm trying to remember.
Pierce Brosnan dies because like the UFO with their severed heads crashes and they drown.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure Annette Bening lives. She makes it to the island with Tom Jones.
Right, yeah, okay, so she's the only top billed actor that doesn't die then in that case. Martin Short dies, Sarah Jessica Parker dies, Michael J. Fox dies, Rod Steiger dies, Tom Jones survives, Lucas Haas survives, Natalie Portman survives, Jim Brown
survives.
So, like, the people listed a little bit lower in the cast are the ones that survive, but, like, the really big name actors, they all get just wiped out in this. It's insane, like, it is insane how many people die in this. I don't know what the body count was, but it had to have been high.
It was high.
Why can't we all just get along?
Get along.
And Jack Nicholson, he not only dies in this, he dies twice. So.
Yeah.
Okay. The way they kill the Martians in this.
Oh my, hold on a second.
What?
I found a wiki called List of Deaths, where they list every single person who died in this movie. And how they died.
At least 100 cows is the first thing listed. Oh, that's hilarious. And then Dove dies. General Casey, yeah. Oh, they list the character names. Oh my god, that's so many people.
If you go to the bottom, the total is 5,296 aliens.
5 million? Oh my goodness. 220 humans. 104 animals. Yeah, that's insane. So, like, millions of people die in this. That's crazy. Or, well, okay, the millions is mostly the aliens, so...
Yeah.
How do they count the number of aliens that way? Wait!
I have no idea. I do wish that was sourced, because that would be good to know how.
5 million? Where did you get 5 million from? That's insane. Okay. But yeah, like 200...
Anyway, back to how they killed...
Over 200 humans die in this, which is crazy. And so what happens... They kill the aliens in a similar way to how they kill the Killer Tomatoes in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, actually. Which is that they basically just play a specific song and then they explode as a result. In that movie, it was some made-up song called Puberty Love, which is as bad as you would think it is. In this, it's Slim Whitman music that kills them. I don't know why. I guess the Martians just can't handle yodeling.
Yeah, like, their heads just explode into, like, a pile of green goo inside their helmets.
It's so funny that they chose Slim Whitman of all people. Yeah, it's because for people who don't, Slim Whitman, he's like a country singer, but he was a yodeling country singer, so... But yeah, it like causes their heads to explode into green goo. Yeah, it's just... And they find this out on accident, too, which is funny. Because the grandmother's like she's like listening to Slim Whitman with headphones on. And when the Martians come to attack her, her headphone jack like comes out, so like the Martians end up hearing the music and it kills them. Oh my goodness. And so they have, like, this tank with, like, some soldiers
that just has speakers playing Slim Whitman music.
Oh, it's so funny. Oh, man. I mean, yeah, how else are you gonna kill Martians,
Yeah. How else are you gonna wrap up this insane movie?
I know, yeah. And then they get Congressional Medals of Honor from Natalie Portman because they killed the Martians. So. Yeah, who knew that the Amish kid from Witness would be the one that helped stop the Martian invasion? Tom Jones is on island with a bunch of animals. It's not unusual place. Just what an ending! Like what a movie.
Ugh.
That being said, I do have some cons.
Yes.
They
Yes.
kill a dog in this.
They kill a dog, and then they also, like, do weird things with another one, like with the whole head transplant thing.
True, yeah, that was weird. But like, why'd you have to? They like kill a dog. It's the White House dog too, and I just remember
Yeah.
going, God
Yeah.
damn it, why'd you have to kill the fucking dog? You can kill as many humans as you want, but do not kill the
Not
dog.
the dog.
I forgot how long the opening credits were. Those just seem to go on forever.
Well, they have to list everybody that's in the movie, and so it goes on forever.
It's just a bunch of UFOs like flying through space, and the credits like fly across the screen. It kind of reminded me of the opening of Superman. Now that I think about it.
Hmm.
But okay, my problem with this: there are too many characters in this to keep track
Yes,
of.
it gets so hard to keep track of all the plot lines. Most of them don't even really go anywhere. Like some characters, like Danny DeVito, has almost nothing to do in this movie. He might have 5 minutes of screen time.
If that, yeah. And part of it was that they were kind of just playing versions of themselves. Like when an actor showed
Yeah.
up in this movie, you weren't like, "Oh, it's so and so playing." You were going, "No, it's Danny DeVito."
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it's Michael Fox playing Michael Fox.
Or it's Tom Jones playing Tom Jones.
It's Michael J. Fox playing Michael J. Fox. And yeah, Tom Jones literally is playing Tom Jones in this movie. And the characters were kind of forgettable, I thought. They didn't really,
Yeah.
most of them didn't really have a lot of personality, which is too bad because
Honestly,
a lot of them,
the most memorable character really is the Martians.
yes, yeah, and they have a lot of personality, a very, very disturbing personality. They're maybe the most, like, just sadistic aliens I've ever seen in a movie, which is saying quite a bit. Apparently there were supposed to be even more characters, if you can believe that.
Oh, that would have become so much of a mess.
The original script had 60 characters, but then they wrote most of them out, so we ended up with 23 instead.
Oh, 60.
It's very unfocused as a result. And also, it was kind of just another case of, and then we get a scene of at some points.
Yeah. I would say the beginning does sort of drag out a little bit. Because, like, it feels kind of slow just because they're trying to introduce everyone before
It was, yeah.
the Martians start to attack.
Mars attacks. That's such a simple title, but it works for the movie.
Yeah.
This also felt like a really long movie. I don't know about you, but
it was what? Like an hour 45?
It honestly felt like it was over 2 hours long while watching it. And it's not 2 hours long. I at least, unless my DVD case was lying to me. Because part of it was you just have so many characters, and so there's maybe a little too much going on in this. The problem. Which is why it feels a bit scattershot. There will be parts of like they're really funny, and some others. Anyway. Another thing I was gonna mention this earlier, but I think I'll save it for I saved it for now, which is I kind of wish the movie had gone for special effects that looked more like ones from a 50s B movie.
Yeah, no, I think that would have been a nice touch if it was like a bunch of people in like suits doing this.
Yeah, or they were gonna do stop motion for the Martians. That was the original idea. But the guy who usually does Tim Burton's stop motion stuff, he was busy making James and the Giant Peach, so he couldn't do this one.
My nightmares.
There's the movie that gave you nightmares, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a weird movie. But I think it would have added more to the charm if they had if they were just really outdated special effects, you know.
Yeah. And they do have that one scene where when they're doing the autopsy on one of the Martians where it's like a physical rubber suit that they're working on. And I think it would have been cool to see more of those in the movie.
It's like the green goo. It's yeah, they're examining the brain, and there's a bunch of green goo coming off of it, and Pierce Brosnan's looking. I bet Pierce Brosnan was really proud of this movie. I feel like it'd be interesting if I ever met him, if I asked him about making Mars Attacks.
See if he even remembers it.
Does he even remember? Because he was busy playing James Bond at the time. So this is literally right after GoldenEye. So, yeah. Did you have anything else to add about that?
I think that pretty much covers everything.
Yeah. I feel like there were some actors I feel like they could have utilized them a little bit differently, but it's they were it's kind of a struggle when you have an ensemble movie like this. It's kind of hard to juggle that much talent. Focused. Yeah. But hey, at least Tom Jones is in this movie.
Yeah.
Let me guess. You're gonna mention the Mars Attacks video game now.
I was about to bring it up. So a couple months ago, they announced a video game called Mars Attracts, which is, for some inexplicable reason, a roller coaster tycoon knockoff, all themed around Mars Attacks.
What?
I have no idea what the rationale was behind that.
Yeah. Have you played it? Or has it not come out yet?
It's not out yet, I don't think.
Not out yet? Okay.
I will double check, but I think that's not supposed to come out until next year.
I think I know what your review of it would be. Ack. Yeah, you knew exactly where that was going. Ack.
Yeah, the whole thing, at least from what I can tell, it's about building amusement parks to trap humans on. You're playing on the side of the aliens.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, of course you want to play as the aliens in a game like that. It's so weird, the trajectory of this franchise. It starts off as trading cards, it's a movie, then it's a video game.
Now it's a roller coaster tycoon sim game.
There's probably comics or...
Yeah, I think there were comics that came out between the trading cards and the movie. I think it was in the 80s. They made some comic books, which I figure were probably quite a bit different from the movie. And ever since the movie came out, I think everything's been styled after the movie.
Probably, yeah. There's a soundtrack album.
Good. I mean, it had some good songs on it.
Most of it's Danny Elfman tracks, but it does include the Slim Whitman song "Indian Love Call" and the Tom Jones song "It's Not Unusual." That's on there as well.
The two most important songs in the movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so is that all you had to say about the video game? Right?
Yeah. I think it's time to get overall thoughts.
Okay, overall thoughts. This is such a weird movie. It's not great, but it has some really funny parts. Mostly because of the Martians. They're freakish and goofy, and they make this worth seeing at least once. I do think the cast could have been utilized better, though. The characters were pretty flat, one-dimensional. Granted, maybe that was on design, because it's supposed to be a 50s B movie. As far as alien invasion movies from the year 1996, I would say Independence Day is the better movie. But Mars Attacks has the better aliens in it. Hell, maybe you just switch them around.
I would agree.
But you could just switch them
would
around, see what happens, you know?
Okay, if we switch it around, Earth, from like the Mars attack, like President Jack Nicholson is getting wiped out. There is no chance he is surviving the Independence Day aliens.
Would President Bill Pullman stand a chance against the Mars Attacks aliens?
I think he would get off to a similar foot. Like he'd try the peaceful route first. But after that doesn't work the first time, then I think he's on the warpath. But I don't know if they would have found out about the aliens' weakness to Slim.
But I think the Martians in Mars Attacks, I think they're funnier than the ones in Independence Day. They have a bit more personality.
And they have a more memorable design as well.
True, yes. The ones in Independence Day, I always felt the design was kind of... Yeah, they could have done better.
Generic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the aliens in Independence Day got stopped by a computer virus. Which is kind of...
Which raises so many questions, but I'll save that until our Independence Day podcast.
Yeah. Are we going to do that at some point? Maybe we should, actually.
I've decided that we're going to do it at some point. Probably close to the 4th of July.
Probably, yeah. I got the Blu-ray of it. It'd be pretty easy to do. I've seen that movie. That's one where I could probably do the podcast on it without watching it again, just because I've seen it enough times to have the beats down. We haven't done any Will Smith movies yet, or have we done any Jeff Goldblum movies yet?
I don't think we have. That actually surprises me. I know we talked about doing The Fly before.
Yeah, we could do The Fly before, but just shut up. I need to get back to my thing. We got sidetracked again. Sorry. The aliens in Independence Day, they got stopped by a computer virus. The ones in Mars Attacks get stopped by Slim Whitman music, which is a little more memorable. It's stupider maybe, but it's more memorable. Like I said earlier, though, I do think Independence Day has the better president.
Yes.
I'd vote for President Bill Pullman over President Jack Nicholson. Sorry, Jack. This is far from Tim Burton's best work, but it looks like it would have been fun to make. You know?
Oh, 100%.
I'm glad that weird movies like this exist. You know, it makes the world a little more interesting. And hey, you also got Tom Jones in this. And Pierce Brosnan making out with the Chihuahua with Sarah Jessica Parker's head. What the hell? What a weird movie. Okay, you can go now.
So it's not a perfect movie by any means. In fact, it has a lot of issues that we kind of talked about. The cast, while really impressive, is a bit overstuffed. The movie doesn't really have a whole lot of focus. The beginning's a bit slow, and the whole thing feels a little longer than it needed to be. But aside from all that, it is this just crazy, insane, zany film that is just really hard to take your eyes off of. Every time you think that you've hit some sort of crescendo in the movie, it goes a step beyond in the next scene and just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier. It is such a fun time, and I would highly recommend. showing this to people who haven't seen this movie before. In fact, I'm kind of planning on springing this on some of my friends now that I know haven't seen this, just to see their reaction.
It seems to be kind of a polarizing movie, though. Like, people seem to either really get it or just not, because it's kind of, again, it's kind of all over the place. And it's such a weird tone, too, you know, it's like, anyway, well, I mean, how many movies of Jack Black and Michael J. Fox getting killed by Martians, I ask?
In the same movie as Jack Nicholson getting killed by a Martian twice.
Twice, yeah. And Sarah Jessica Parker getting her head switched around with a chihuahua. And Danny DeVito and Tom Jones. It's, again, just that cast. Like, I feel like... How did they get this many people to be in this? That's insane. Like,
I have no idea.
Did you ever think Martin Short and Rod Steiger would be in the same movie? Apparently that exists, and we'll never get it again. But it happened. Okay, so our next podcast is the director's cut of Napoleon.
Yay.
I'm kidding. Our next podcast, we are doing Halloween, the 2018 one, just so people aren't confused, and Halloween Kills.
And until then, ack.
Ack.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.